So here we are in the second weekend of June, which means that we are about to enter the third week of June. And I'm pretty sure that most of us feel that this third week of June is going to be the time where we finally see Nintendo's June Nintendo Direct that they confirmed to us via Twitter last month. Of course, nothing is confirmed, and we all have to be patient and see if we do actually get a Nintendo Direct announcement for this week. It sure makes a lot of sense to me because, we're halfway through the month at this point. We already know that this month we will see this Nintendo Direct. It's going to be their big summer showcase, hopefully an answer to some of the other stuff that we've been seeing from Microsoft and Sony and Jeff Keighley's Summer Game Fest and all that stuff. All the goods and all the many, many bads that comes with these kinds of shows. Ubisoft had their Ubisoft Forward as well in this past week. And we're all waiting to see what Nintendo is going to do. And there's a lot at stake for Nintendo during this Nintendo Direct, which we all know, and I've discussed on this channel many times over the past couple of weeks, as I've kind of started revisiting making videos every once in a while, whether we're talking about the Switch 2's inevitable reveal, we're talking about the slowing Switch sales, we're talking about the slower lineup of brand new first-party games, or even any sort of significant games and exclusive titles. There's just a lot going on, and so I've already discussed how I think that this Direct probably will be the final Nintendo Direct focused on the current Nintendo Switch before we see the Switch 2 revealed sometime after. And so what I want to do is refocus this back onto my favorite topic in the world, right? Which is Metroid and Metroid Prime 4. And you guys know me. This is what I do. I'm always thinking about Metroid and waiting for an excuse to talk about it and empty my head of thoughts around Metroid or Prime 4 to you guys onto this YouTube channel. And even though I did make a Metroid Prime 4 focused video a few weeks ago, I want to revisit a different element of Metroid Prime 4 before we see this Nintendo Direct. So I'm just going to come right out and say it and double down on something I've been saying and feeling for a while. I think there is a phenomenal chance we're going to see Metroid Prime 4 at this Direct. Personally, I'm wagering over 50% chance that we're going to see this game at this Direct. So that means if that Direct is going to happen this week, like days from now, then in theory, that would mean that we are days away from seeing Metroid Prime 4 real gameplay and a trailer and a hint at a release date and all this stuff. We haven't seen Samus in so long, at least in the Metroid Prime series. We saw a new version of Samus in Metroid Dread almost 4 years ago, which is amazing, but I want to see Samus come back within the Prime universe and just understand what's happening with this game. I really think, you guys, let's stop for a second and soak this in. This is just all theory. This could be wrong, but let's soak in the fact that we really might be, like I said, days away from seeing this game. Now, two main takeaways from the concept of possibly being days away from seeing Metroid Prime 4. And I'm going to reiterate one more time and for the final time in this video. This is a guess and a theory only. So this whole conversation and everything I'm talking about today is just my personal theory. This is Rob's guess and prediction on what might be happening, right? So you understand we're just talking about a theory. So if we are days away from seeing this game again, there are two main takeaways. One would be, if we see it this week, it's telling us that this game is officially coming out on the current Nintendo Switch. Whether or not there will also be a next-gen Switch 2 version of Metroid Prime 4 would remain to be seen. But if we see it at this upcoming Direct this week or the week after, before June is over, we know that game is coming to the current Switch. So that will be good news in most ways, and hopefully exciting for whatever they might be doing to upgrade a Switch 2 version if we do see that. People have very mixed opinions on that. That's not the purpose of this video. So that's the first takeaway. The second takeaway is that I believe the next time we see Prime 4, if it's this month in June, we will also get, if not a release date, bare minimum a release window. But knowing the way Nintendo does things with big games like this, I'm just going to say I think we will get the release date. I don't think they're going to pull a Zelda with Metroid Prime 4 and show us a trailer of like what it looks like after so many years of waiting and then say, we'll come back to you soon with a release date. I don't think that's going to happen. I think whenever they show us Metroid Prime 4 again, a release date, maybe a window, but probably a date, will be coming along with that, I should say. And so what that means is, to get further to the point of this video, I believe that when we see this game and when we get that date, that means the date is going to be 3 to 6 months away which means I think that, it's a long way for me to say, I think that Metroid Prime 4 might be closer to releasing than we think. So I took a longer route in my conversation to kind of get to the main point that I anticipated taking. But to summarize that several minutes into this video now, all I'm really getting at is that the Direct is going to happen this week or the week after. I think there's a great chance Metroid Prime 4 is going to be there. I think they will be giving us a release date along with the reveal of Metroid Prime 4. And because Nintendo, more often than not, with some exceptions like the Zelda games and with the first time they revealed Metroid Prime 4, more often than not, they don't reveal games with gameplay and a full trailer until they're ready to give us a release date. And that release date is almost always very close to that reveal. You know, Luigi's Mansion 3 is another one popping into my brain that we didn't really have a target window for. You know, those things happen occasionally, but I would guess in the range of 80 to 90% of games that Nintendo reveal with gameplay and like a teaser and actual trailer footage, usually the date is along with that, and it is pretty close. Metroid Dread is the perfect example. That game was 19 years in the making. And what, June 2021, they revealed that game existed with a trailer and I mean, it even had E3 Treehouse footage and everything. And they also gave us the date of October. It was only 4 months away. There was a 4-month gap in time between the reveal of Metroid Dread and the release. And Metroid Prime 4 is clearly going to be bigger in scope than Metroid Dread. But let's be real. This game has been 7 years a mystery. And we know that it had the reboot back in 2019. We know they gave it back to Retro Studios. And I do think that next-gen hardware is part of the reason Nintendo has waited so long to reveal it to us. But I think that if it is going to release on the Switch and if they are going to show it to us this month, I think we're going to probably learn that that game really might be releasing before the end of 2024. Now, I know that this all sounds very optimistic. I have no doubt in my mind that plenty of you will think that I am just talking crazy talk and look at how long they've kept this game in the dark. Why would they suddenly reveal it and then give us a release date and also make the release date so close? This game is 2025. It's going to be 2026. It's going to be Switch 2 only, all of these different things. Hell, you'd be surprised how many times in responses to my tweets about Metroid Prime 4, and of course my many videos about Metroid Prime 4, people tell me that they genuinely think the game has been canceled. Like, it floors me to think that people could be so unaware of the scenario that they would allow themselves to think that Nintendo has canceled this game. That's not going to happen. So, I would understand if you think I'm being overly optimistic here. But look, man, at some point, the veil gets lifted off of every game, no matter how long the development and no matter how mysterious it's been. Metroid Prime 4 is in the running for one of the most mysterious and longest in development games we've ever known about. I would say it kind of is falling into the Last Guardian kind of comparison. For any of you old enough or who were following gaming at the time to know the game The Last Guardian, which was announced for like the PS2, I think, or PS3 or something. I don't remember what it was announced for. And it disappeared for like almost a decade before it was finally re-revealed and then eventually released. And that game itself had a huge mystery and a very big controversy around why the game disappeared the way it did. And a lot of people thought it was never going to come back. And it did come back. I think, given the length of time that game went through to eventually get released, I think Metroid Prime 4 is kind of in that same conversation. And so the purpose of that comparison is to say that eventually a game, if it's not canceled, and I do not believe this game has been canceled, eventually a game is revealed or re-revealed. And along with that also comes eventually a release. The game is going to release between now and the time the sun burns the earth up at the end of the Earth's life. Like, it's going to release. And so there's no reason to think that the game has to be that far off when we already know and understand Nintendo's typical cadence for these things. They're going to reveal this game soon. And I think the reveal will have that date, like I've already said several times. And knowing the way Nintendo does these kinds of things, I don't think Prime 4 is going to fall into a Zelda scenario. They're going to give us a date, and I bet it's going to be 3, 4, or 6 months away. Which means if it happens in June, then the game might be releasing in October or November of this year. Being the Metroid superfan I am, and being the guy who's made kind of a reputation for myself on the internet and YouTube as being this Metroid superfan, I'm willing to play the optimist on your guys' behalf, okay? And say that I think there's a great chance we see this game within a couple of days, and that we might be getting a release date before the end of the year. What I will say, though, is, and I'm not trying to play devil's advocate, and I'm not trying to even end on a negative note here, but let's discuss that 10% window I gave myself of this not happening. And I feel like there is, if we follow the path of that 10% that says it's not going to happen, I feel like, bare minimum, we're going to see the game revealed this year, hopefully this month in June. And let's say they don't give us a date before the end of 2024. I mean, that 10% tells me we're at least going to see 2025 just appear at the end of the trailer. We'll get, 90 seconds, 2 minutes maybe worth of a Metroid Prime 4 trailer. We're going to lose our minds. We're going to piss our pants with excitement. I'm going to be screaming and hooting and hollering like a baby. It's going to be insane. And if it does that, we get that 2 minutes of a trailer, and then it just ends with 2025. Okay, it's going to end with 2025. The way the development of this game has gone, and with the next generation looming, I don't see this. I know I've made this Zelda comparison a few times, but I really feel like it's important in this conversation. I don't see them doing with Metroid Prime 4 what they've done with Zelda games in the past, really Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, where every new time they would reveal it, they would push the release window back just a little bit, I mean, Breath of the Wild went through like 4 release date changes between release years or windows of time before it finally released in March 2017. And Tears of the Kingdom, I think, went through 2 or 3, right? I think it was going to be 2022, then it was 2023 or something like that. So it itself kept moving around, a few times. I feel like Nintendo is probably going to be pretty comfortable sticking to either the release date they give us or the release window. So I think we're going to see it probably this month, just a theory. And I think great chance it releases at the end of this year. If not, we're going to get 2025, and I think they're going to stick to 2025. If it's 2025, we might be looking at that next-gen version of Metroid Prime 4, so I actually would still be excited if that's the case, even though I'm dying to play the game sooner than later. So, anyway, these are just things I've been thinking about as we've gotten closer and closer to whenever we're going to see this direct. Metroid Prime 4 is the only thing I'm really excited for because I think it's the only opportunity for a big game we probably have at this show. And I think about Metroid Prime 4. I think about when I'm going to play Metroid Prime 4. And I think there's a great chance it could be at the end of this year. So these are just my thoughts, and I wanted to share that with you guys.